Can we set the scene?
He scored 41 goals.
Andy Cole gave him the ball and he scored a goal. He actually did that.
I was loving it.
Gunnar Cole is back where he should be, in the front line. Punishment for going AWOL is normally rather more severe.
He's not one for many words, the gaffer.
If he wasn't such a good player, you maybe wouldn't try as hard to solve the problem.
I remember Kevin saying to me, "Do you fancy it this morning?" I just said, "To be honest with you, boss, I'm a bit tired." So I remember Kevin saying, "We can do one then."
It was an altercation, but nothing unusual.
All hell broke loose.
And came in and said, basically, I'm going to sell him. I said, what?
You're joking?
At what point did you find out about Manchester United interest?
I didn't. And then a telephone call comes, it's like, this is not real, it's not really happening.
Kevin Keegan has much explaining to do to Newcastle's loyal fans.
If it doesn't work, I know what the implications are.
To see Kevin come out at St James's Park, and
I was taken back by it.
Nobody could understand. Managers stand or fall by the decisions they make.
ultimately, what the focus is going to be, why did Manchester United pay £6 million for this individual?
Can we set the scene? You were Newcastle's record transfer signing from Bristol City. Can you talk us through your early days in the North East?
Enjoyable, I'm not going to lie, I thoroughly enjoyed it.
They needed a new goal scorer, and obviously when you've got a manager like Kevin Keegan, he tends to focus on goal scorers. Andy Cole, he left Arsenal, Bristol City was doing well, and he was an obvious target.
We were a club on the up with Kevin taking over and making good signings to try and help us get promoted.
I can remember Kevin and Terry Mack going down to Bristol to watch a couple of games and just scout the player like you did in those days. After watching him a couple of times, decided that, he was the type of player that could improve Newcastle United at that particular moment in time. They were expecting to get him for just under £1 million, but it ended up being the record sign at the time was 1.75 million, something like that.
I signed for Newcastle, speak to Lee Clark, who's my big mate, and he always used to say, "Oh, come to Newcastle." And I always used to say, "No, Newcastle's too far." I'm saying, "Clark, it's near Scotland, isn't it?"
I was obviously making a big play. The manager, Kevin Keegan, rang us and said, "I've got someone in the car with us you'd like to talk to," and he put Coley on the phone, so I was absolutely buzzing when I knew that he was coming to us.
He made a few inquiries and he was warned off, saying I think there's trouble with his attitude, etc. There wasn't really, it was just people didn't understand Andy. At the time, a young player, and he's aloof, he could be trouble. He wasn't at all.
It was Kevin's world. But what I do remember basically was that he said to me he wanted Andy Cole. He did the deal with Bristol City. Wanted to see the player. They couldn't find him.
They sent people out, scurrying out, looking for him, and they found his car parked in the city centre.
Andy Cole had gone AWOL.
So they put a note on the dashboard under the windscreen wipers saying, "Get in touch with the club quick, big developments."
He'd gone to cinema.
And he was evidently round the corner in the laundrette washing his smalls. So he come back with his smalls in a bag and picked this note up and thought he'd got a ticket, and it was, "Get in touch, Newcastle, won't you?"
Go, straight on.
I remember Kevin saying to me, "Look, Newcastle's training ground was in Durham. Get yourself a place in Durham." So I was like, "All right, cool." Obviously, I don't know the area. So I ended up in a little village called Crook.
When he said, "I'm moving to a place called Crook," and I said, "Well, where's that?" And he says, "Well, you're the one from the North East." And I says, "And exactly, I don't know where that is." And I think his mindset was he just wanted to go to a little village where nobody would know him, and he wanted to just keep out of the limelight as such.
Quite laid back, maybe a little bit shy, a little bit reserved. I can remember walking out Maidencastle at Durham one day and most of the lads were there ready for training, and he was sort of leaning against the the door pillar, and I said, "Come on, Colin, lads are waiting for you." So, okay, and he just strolled across sort of thing and cracked on with it. But when he started to train, you could see the ability that he had.
Keegan's a hero on Tyneside. He's brought the club from the brink of relegation last year to league champions and promotion this.
We're after Man United now. We're in there with a chance, aren't we? I think I'm up there, right? You come to training, you get 2,000 people watching you train, I think when I was down in Bristol and stuff like that, I thought that could have been a gate.
He helped us get us promotion in his first 6 months there, and he almost got a goal a game from then to the end of the season, which was 10, 11, 12 goals, something like that.
I think when I'm on the field, I think that was the time for me to express myself, just enjoy what I was doing. Just off the pitch was so intense, because the passion they have for their football club and their players and that, I'm like, this is a bit too much for me. And I found that really, really hard, really, really intense.
When you're out and you're a footballer for that football club, people just take over your life. They want to stop you in the shop, in a restaurant, filling your car up, walking down the street. He didn't realise, but it didn't take long for him to quickly realise once he donned that jersey and he was banging in goals left, right and centre, how important, how adored he was by the football club.
One moment from Andy Cole, and what about that finish? Is Cole in? He is. The hat-trick is his.
He's brilliant, man. Andy Cole, #1. Ian Wright, bye-bye.
Andy Cole give him the ball and he scored a goal. He actually did that.
Once he received the ball in and around the penalty area, there was no doubt about it.
Andy just linked up with Peter Beardsley.
Beardsley. Can Cole get to this one? He does!
Peter is the perfect foil for a quick in mind, but also quick in his reactions and in his speed.
Shearer had strength. Andy was so fast. The ball was in the back of the net. He had speed.
Coley was absolutely fantastic out of it, just getting a yard, 2 yards.
They put the ball through for Cole, and it's in!
He had such quick feet to finish with it. Very, very good at going in behind you. His movement is as good as I've played with or seen, because that's where he came alive. Anywhere in the penalty area, finding that half a yard. Very, very good at it. As sharp as attack.
I never saw playing football as a job. Something I always wanted to do as a kid, you know.
Andy Cole cannot believe it. He has scored the Newcastle goal on a day of many other opportunities for him, and his side leaving the Dell empty-handed.
I think it'd be unfair to single out Andy Cole. I mean, he got there something like 7 or 8 times, and on a normal day, I mean, he would have a hatful tonight. But he's had a terrific time since he's been here.
Lost the game against Southampton, warmed down Monday morning. I remember coming out, walking onto the training pitch. I remember Kevin saying to me, morning, Cole. Morning, boss. I'm not on the lines of, do you fancy it this morning? I just said to him, I was very honest. I said, I'm going to be honest with you, boss, I'm a bit tired. So I remember Kevin said, well, okay, not a problem. If you're tired, well, you can do one then. Not a problem for me. I did exactly that.
Round about a similar sort of time, I had a little bit of a fallout with Kevin. I had to publicly apologise to make sure I stayed at the club, and Andy had a fallout with him as well. And when we've talked about it since, I'm not sure it ever got repaired fully, and that was always, something that was in Coley's mind and possibly Kevin's mind.
Kevin Keegan was without doubt the most passionate but emotional person. He wore his heart on his sleeve in everything. If he did fall out with players, it's maybe because he felt that they weren't buying into the passion. His expectations were so high. He wanted players to not only play for his football club, but also buy into everything that it would mean.
Those sorts of things happen every day of the week. There were certain standards that we all lived to at that particular moment in time. If anybody did step out of line, irrespective of who it was, Kevin would say something, or I would say something, Terry Mack would say something. Certainly, there was an altercation, but nothing that you wouldn't think was, unusual.
All hell broke loose and all the nonsense started, and perceptions come out that I'm a problem and all that.
The regulars were just checking up on reports that all is not well behind the scenes at St James's Park. Gunnar Cole is back where he should be, in the front line. Punishment for going AWOL is normally rather more severe, but the young hero will definitely lead the attack tomorrow, and the club will make strenuous efforts to protect their best asset.
If he wasn't such a good player, you maybe wouldn't try as hard to solve the problem. He's a young lad, he's a terrific talent, friends and that are in London. And it's a long, long way geographically from Newcastle, and we've tried to help him with the problem, and we'll continue trying to help him with the problem.
Go, hey, stop, celebrate. If he doesn't think I'm doing well, he'll come and tell me what's going wrong and that. But he's not one for many words, the gaffer. Let's just go out, play, and if he doesn't feel it's going well, you play at half time.
Everyone said I went AWOL, but I didn't do that. I just decided, I'm going to take a little time out. Took a time out, went back to Newcastle, sat down with Freddie Shep, Kevin, Terry Mack, and we just went through what happened and all that kind of stuff. I voiced my opinion, They voiced their opinion. For me, it was done and dusted, but obviously for Kevin, it wasn't.
We've had a little problem with him last week. It was not a big problem. He's a terrific talent, and it's up to us as a club to make sure we don't spoil him. There's nobody better than him at the moment. For his age, this is the place for him.
Did you sense a change in the relationship after that?
Yeah, I did. For me personally, it's just for me to get my head down. You know, I've done it previously, just got my head down. I'll continue to do just that. You know, continue to try my best to score goals and play for the team.
Throughout that season, you know, the goals he was scoring, the performances that he put in, there was nothing to suspect that, you know, anything was going wrong.
The season he had for us, he scored 41 goals. It is still the Newcastle record in all competitions. There wasn't a free kick taken around the edge of the box or a penalty in the 41 goals.
Kevin, not many people fell out with him and stayed at the football club. And I think myself and John Beresford were probably the only two who did.
The chairman's son always used to say to me, right, Coley, if you get a couple of goals today, I'll give you a Versace tie or something stupid like that. So I said, oh, not a problem, go out there, bang, get myself a couple of ties. We had a side bet, and he said to me, right, if you get 40 goals, I'll buy an M3. I thought, right, then not a problem.
I think the chairman's son had offered him an incentive to get to a certain goal tally, which upset one or two of the other players because they, of course, went on and said, well, what about us? We're providing the ammunition for him, and he's the one who's firing the bullets and putting the ball in the back of the net.
Kevin kicked off about it, saying, no, you can't be having side bets. I think those little things were causing a few problems as well.
People who don't know him, they make this assumption of him and give him this reputation. That has been something that's followed him around by people who don't really know him and never had been in his company for long periods of time. He's a top fella there.
Kevin himself hated any individual accolades. You're talking about a man who won the Ballon d'Or twice, never wanted to talk about it. He was very much someone who was always about the team. He would have said Newcastle United is far bigger than any player or any manager. And if he felt that a player was starting to feel like they were getting bigger than the club, then he certainly wouldn't have liked that.
Going into the following season, have there been any talk of you leaving? Had it crossed your mind that maybe you could move?
No, not at all. What you got to remember, I'd only been there just over a year. I was loving it.
Manchester United really needed a striker in December 1994. They'd been linked with, like I said, Les Ferdinand, I think Stan Collymore as well. It was an era when England and English football, you know, there were a lot of strikers around. You know, there's a Fowler, probably tail end of Ian Wright as well. So, and Ferguson loves strikers. He's always looking at strikers.
I got a call from the late Ray Wilkins who said to me that Man United wanted to come in with a bid for me. I always remember Ray calling me and saying to me, I've given him a glowing report, and his words to me, and I'll never forget it for as long as I live, he said, when the best team in the land comes calling, you've got to go. They made a bid. Spoke to the chairman, I said to the chairman, look, he asked me did I want to go, and I said, yeah, I think this is one of the clubs that, you know, I'd like to go to. He said, okay, let him speak to Jerry. He spoke to Jerry, Jerry resigned as manager. I thought one of the best things to do was to bring Ray Wilkins back as player manager, which Ray came back under one condition, that they couldn't sell me.
That's Newcastle for you.
Ferguson had obviously looked at him, could see him playing for Manchester United tactically, but also temperamentally, because you've got to be have a certain strength of character to put on that shirt.
At what point did you find out about Manchester United interest?
I didn't. I didn't really find out about any interest. Speaking to Paul Ince quite a bit and saying, oh yeah, the manager really wants you to come to Man United. I'm saying, Ince, it's never going to happen. There was never ever any concrete evidence that Manchester United wanted to take me.
Kevin came in and said, basically, I'm going to sell him. I said, what? You've got to be joking. Again, it's a manager's decision. He stands or falls by decision, and I didn't stand in his way, but he wanted to bring in Les and other players.
Kevin Keegan told me the situation. He said to me, look, I actually wanted to sign you to play with Andy.
Played on the Sunday in the FA Cup. Nothing was said before the game, nothing was said after the game. Went in Monday morning, nothing was said in the warm down, go home.
The day that he left, the training field was frozen at Maiden Castle, and Kevin said, if it's going to be like this overnight, he said, we'll be better going to the stadium, get in the team bus, he said, and take them down to Tynemouth and have a jog on the beach. Kevin said, I won't come down to the beach with you. It was a freezing cold day. There's winds coming off the North Sea. We had a jog along the beach and jumpers for goalposts, put some goals down. But Rule and Andy Cole were at the back of and when I went back to the stadium, Kevin said, how were they? I said, yeah, they're all right. I said, got the balaclavas on, the gloves on, the snoods on and stuff like that. When we got the ball out, they were fine, sort of thing, you know. He said, don't worry about Andy Cole, he won't be here tomorrow.
And then a telephone call comes, like, this is not real, it's not really happening.
And I was absolutely stunned. I said, what do you mean he won't be here tomorrow? He said, Alex Ferguson's just offered £7 million.
Well, I remember playing at Sheffield United and whisper got round that we'd signed Andy Cole. Keith Gillespie was going the other way. And we were all in a bit of a state of shock, really, that this was happening because he was so prolific.
What did you say to Kevin?
I was speechless. I said, you're joking?
We used to car share a little bit into training, so I was sitting waiting for him, and it was all hush-hush, the deal, so he hadn't even informed us. And then just as I started panicking and decided to get in my own car so I wasn't going to be late for training, he gave us a call to inform us why he couldn't turn up to pick us up.
There was a little bit of unrest or a little bit of discomfort, but it was the first time that anything had really been mentioned. It wasn't like a transfer saga that had gone on for weeks and weeks and weeks, not to my knowledge anyway.
It must have been going on for a few days. And for me to only find out the Monday evening, they agreed a fee for me to move to Manchester United.
Absolutely gobsmacked. And you're just thinking, why are they letting him go? What a coup by Manchester United. It was one of those drop the phone to the office moments when you ring them up and you're trying to explain, oh, this news has just broken.
As Britain's most expensive footballer, Andy Cole will have a lot to live up to as he seeks to help Manchester United lift a third successive Premiership title.
It came as a very big surprise to me, I knew nothing about it till like yesterday evening, about 5 o'clock.
So how difficult a decision was it once you came here, once you knew Manchester United were interested to move here?
Oh, obviously it was difficult, because I never wanted to leave Newcastle, but the gaffer accepted the bid. I've come to a very big club, I just want to do well for Manchester United now.
Everyone's looking around for things to say bad about Andy Cole or disagreements that I had with Andy Cole, and it's just nonsense. I had a great relationship with Andy Cole.
Everyone knew we were looking for an English striker, and I think we've got the best, there's no question about that. But his penetration and his goals in the last, 78 and 81 games or something like that, some phenomenal record.
I don't think there's many players who speak to him and then end up not signing for Manchester United. He's very persuasive in a very good way, the way he sells Manchester United to you.
Within 24, 48 hours, he's sitting in amongst us. And that could only be a good thing because we knew, look, he's a finisher.
He was a hero up there, there's no doubt about that. He had the opportunity to become what Alan Shearer has become.
I was taken aback by it due to the fact that the way it happened, leaving Newcastle the Monday night, going into Manchester, Monday morning, meeting the manager, chairman, getting a deal done, medical done and all that, and then bang, it was done. I hadn't been in the Premier League very long. I'm sitting there saying to myself, I'm a novice, really, in the Premier League. Signing for Manchester United, one of the biggest football clubs in the world. And what were my expectations? My expectations were to go in there and do exactly the same thing that I was doing at Newcastle, but not realising that Manchester United was a little bit different.
Cole's move has caused consternation on Tyneside, where Kevin Keegan has much explaining to do to Newcastle's loyal fans.
If you look back 2 years, when we had Kelly and Peacock, a lot of the fans said the same thing. No, they did. And to be honest, with justification. But I felt we could take it on, and you've got to allow me to do that. If it doesn't work, I know what the implications are. I know what the bottom line is.
Nobody could understand.
Kevin he's bought well and he sold well. I have no doubt in his ability whatsoever.
He's the manager, and he said, I want to buy other players. Listen, I want to sell Andy and bring another two in. I'm building a squad. That was his decision.
He was in the boardroom with the club's ownership and Terry McDermott. Fans kept coming. And all of a sudden, Kevin goes, right, we're going to have to go out there and speak to them. And as they got to the big front doors at the Milburn stand and made their way out, he said he suddenly turned around and all the owners and directors had legged it. Someone shouted out, how can you sell our best player to Manchester United, our biggest rivals? And Kevin replied, he said, well, with all due respect, mate, when I arrived here, your biggest rivals were Southend United, so you need to trust in what I'm doing.
I'll answer your question.
It's an absolute disgrace. 41 goals last season. Tell Keegan where you could find a player who could do that and get him.
Diabolical, unbelievable, gobsmacked.
Obviously a difficult day for Kevin, you know, and having to explain to the punters who absolutely adored Andy. Certainly Kevin had earned the right to do what he thought was best for the football team, and if you get a £7 million from Manchester United, with the best team in the country at that particular time, then I think it turns people's heads.
Kevin wore his heart on his sleeve. He loved the supporters. The supporters of Newcastle United were the most important people to Kevin. We were selling one of the best players, which wasn't happening, because what Kevin had been continually doing was getting better players to come in our squad to make us better.
I thought that was typically Kevin. It just showed a real honesty. He wanted to talk to the fans and give it to them straight.
For me, a transfer is a transfer. That's what it's all about. To see that happen, and then to see Kevin come out at St James's Park and have to appease the fans and explain why he sold me, and that, I looked at that and I was taken back by it. I'm not going to lie, I was taken back by it.
I was appointed here to manage this club, and given a long contract, I've got to look at it on long term as well. Decisions have to be made, and if you're scared about making them, then you shouldn't be in the job I'm in.
Managers stand or fall by the decisions they make. It's their department, the department of football on the field. Let them get on. If they come in, you pick them because the knowledge of the game and you think they're going to win you the leagues, etc. They've got to buy the players and you've got to back them.
Every single player that he had just had complete trust in what he was doing.
The Toon Army have already had their say in the club fanzines. They may have lost their #1 goal scorer, but in Keith Gillespie they've got a star with a bright future.
I was totally shocked. I found out Monday evening, and it was all sorted out by Monday night, and that was really it then.
The lad who's been lost all this week in it is Keith Gillespie, and that was the key to the deal for me. If I didn't get Keith Gillespie, then that transfer would not have gone through. And I think in Keith Gillespie we've got the most exciting young player in this country.
I'm sure to this day that if they hadn't got Keith Gillespie in the deal, I don't think Andy Cole would have gone. Keith was another level in terms of pace and the ability to go down the outside and cross the ball. And in that, we had then a wide player who could deliver from the right-hand side, a wide player in Ginola who could deliver from the left-hand side, and Peter Beasley who could thread the ball through the middle. And that's why, of course, we gave a lot of teams a hard time.
Keith Gillespie, people thought, okay, but actually, what a good winger. He was quick, had a good cross, had a good work ethic. And when Andy Cole had a few stutters to start with, people were saying, oh, maybe Newcastle got the better end of the deal.
Another round of autographs for Andy Cole to sign, but this time the fans are united of a Manchester rather than Newcastle nature.
If you look at the team, what Manchester United had then was quality in abundance. When I was at Newcastle, the team was built around me to score goals. You know, when I went to Manchester United, I realised the team's not going to be built around me, so it's a learning process.
He was driven by it, so much so that he wasn't that popular with a few. You know, he was that focused and driven. I always got on great with him and welcomed him into the dressing room. To start with, he found it a little bit difficult.
Can Andy Cole take on the mantle of the main marksman here? Alex Ferguson has bet £7 million that he can.
Nobody tells you when you walk through the door at Man U what's coming, because there's a lot of noise on the outside, but it's not until you get inside that you realise of how big the whole thing can be. It is a monster of a club, so you have to get a hold of the lads when they first walk through the door, give them a hand, invite them round for a cup of tea and make them part of it and try and settle them in as quickly as you can.
Ultimately, once you move to a football club with that money back in that time, everything's going to be on you anyway, regardless of what anyone else is doing in the team. The focus is going to be, why did Manchester United pay £6 million for this individual?
It was considered a huge sum, and I think probably possibly weighed down on him a bit because he was quite a sensitive individual who would have read or heard comments about him and taken it to heart.
Simply sensational from Andy Cole. Oh, sheer quality from Andy Cole.
It's the goal that could be in the championship for Manchester United.
I look back at my time at Manchester United with great fondness. It's the club that I always wanted to play for. You know, it's a club that I supported as well. So I think those things make it a lot easier. When you go there, you start achieving, you start winning. You know, you start understanding what the fabric of the football club is. You get ingrained in it. Losing becomes a problem. That's why we didn't like to lose. And like I said, that was right up my street anyway. Just being involved in it all was fantastic.